The Treaty of Utrecht, ending the War of the Spanish Succession. Presentation overview, background and context. We'll explore the historical context and events leading up to the War of the Spanish Succession and how it led to the Treaty of Utrecht. Major provisions of the treaty. We'll examine the major provisions of the Treaty of Utrecht, including territorial changes, trade and commerce, and military implications. Impact on Europe and its legacy. We'll also explore the impact of the Treaty of Utrecht on Europe and its legacy. Background and context. Background. The War of the Spanish Succession was a major European conflict that arose from the disputed succession to the Spanish throne. The conflict began in 1701 and continued until 1714, involving many European powers, including France, Spain, England, and Austria. Context. The War of the Spanish Succession had a significant impact on Europe and the world as a whole, leading to the rise of the British Empire and the decline of French power. The Treaty of Utrecht, which ended the war in 1713, reshaped the political and economic landscape of Europe. War of the Spanish Succession. Causes of the war. The War of the Spanish Succession was primarily caused by the disputed succession to the Spanish throne, with several European powers vying for control of the Spanish territories. Key events and battles. The War of the Spanish Succession involved several key events and battles, including the Battle of Blenheim, the Siege of Barcelona, and the Treaty of Utrecht. Prelude to the Treaty of Utrecht. As the War of the Spanish Succession dragged on, various European powers began to seek a peaceful resolution. This led to diplomatic efforts towards the Treaty of Utrecht. Major provisions of the treaty. Territorial changes. The Treaty of Utrecht led to significant territorial changes in Europe, including the ceding of Gibraltar and Minorca to Great Britain, the transfer of Sicily to the Duke of Savoy, the recognition of Philip V as King of Spain, and the establishment of the Austrian Netherlands. Trade and commerce. The Treaty of Utrecht had a significant impact on trade and commerce in Europe, including the establishment of the Asiento de Negros, a monopoly of the slave trade in Spanish America granted to Great Britain. Military implications. The Treaty of Utrecht had significant military implications, including the end of the War of the Spanish Succession, the weakening of French military power, and the establishment of a balance of power in Europe. Territorial changes. The Treaty of Utrecht resulted in major territorial changes, particularly in the Spanish Netherlands and Italy, which reshaped the political landscape of Europe and impacted the balance of power on the continent. Trade and commerce. Treaty of Utrecht. The Treaty of Utrecht was a series of individual peace treaties signed by the belligerent parties in the War of the Spanish Succession in the Dutch city of Utrecht in March and April 1713. It contained several provisions related to trade and commerce, which impacted the economies of various European powers. Impact on trade and commerce. The provisions related to trade and commerce in the Treaty of Utrecht played a key role in shaping the economies of various European powers in the 18th century. These provisions impacted the flow of goods and services, as well as the development of new trade routes and markets. Military implications. Great Britain. The Treaty of Utrecht had positive military implications for Great Britain as it marked the beginning of its emergence as a major naval power and colonial empire. France. The Treaty of Utrecht had negative military implications for France as it marked the end of its dominance in Europe and the beginning of its decline as a major military power. Impact of the treaty. End of the war. The Treaty of Utrecht brought an end to the War of Spanish Succession and established a new balance of power in Europe. Shifts in European balance of power. The Treaty of Utrecht marked a significant shift in the balance of power in Europe, with Britain emerging as a major world power. Legacy of the treaty. The Treaty of Utrecht had a lasting impact on political and economic landscape of Europe, paving the way for future developments such as the rise of the British Empire and the Industrial Revolution. End of the war. The Treaty of Utrecht was signed in 1713 and brought an end to the War of the Spanish Succession, which had been raging for over a decade. The treaty established a new balance of power in Europe and brought about a lasting peace that lasted for several decades. Shift in European balance of power. Treaty of Utrecht. The Treaty of Utrecht was a series of peace agreements signed between European powers in 1713, marking a significant shift in the balance of power in Europe. Impact on political relations. The Treaty of Utrecht had a significant impact on the political relationships among European powers, particularly in the aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars. Impact on economic relations. The Treaty of Utrecht also had a significant impact on the economic relationships among European powers, particularly in the areas of trade and commerce. Legacy of the treaty. The Treaty of Utrecht had a significant and long-lasting impact on European politics and economy. Its provisions led to the rise of Great Britain as a world power and marked the beginning of the decline of the Spanish Empire. Conclusion. The Treaty of Utrecht was a major turning point in European history, reshaping the political and economic landscape of the continent. It helped to end the War of the Spanish Succession and establish a new balance of power in Europe. Thank you.